First of all, congratulations, guys. This is a really beautiful film.
Thank you.
Where did you find these characters, and where did you begin the process of kind of discovering them for you as an actor, for both of you?
Well, I heard that they were making a movie on Brian, and I thought, if I'm going to be in the business, this is the type of thing that I want to do. I'm a huge music fan, and I made a movie called High Fidelity, in which it was about rock snobs and these record store guys. And the funny thing about it is they could never agree on anything, except all three guys would put Brian Wilson, Pet Sounds, and Smile Sessions in their top five. So I was aware of his legacy and his impact on music. So I just said, hey, Bill, let me read for it. And I think I got in the door, and I found out they were going to be casting Elizabeth, and I thought, wow, that's perfect. She's great. Mm-hmm. And then I was a huge fan of Paul, so I was just sort of lucky to get in on a project and get a good look.
Nice. What about you?
I was seduced by the script. I just thought it was so ambitious, telling a story about this amazing, iconic man in two different time periods with two different actors. And then I loved Melinda, and then I met Melinda, and I fell in love with her, and I have so much admiration for her, and we just connected on just a woman-to-woman level, and and I really felt so compelled to help bring her story to light. I think people are really familiar. I was really familiar, obviously, with the Beach Boys and the hits and the music, but the second part of this story, Brian's challenges later in life, I had no idea. And then, of course, this amazing love story that came out of meeting Melinda. And, they're still together, and they have a lovely family, and they're survivors together. And that's what I took away from everything. I just love them, and I'm inspired by them.
And they say, I don't know, directors a lot of times say casting is the most important thing in the movie business. If you cast it right, things can go well. But we were doing an interview with you and Melinda, and you were both actually sitting there talking about a house, and you were both like looking at each other. You're like, come on, blah, blah, blah. I was like, these are the same.
I'll take it. If I can be a quarter of the woman that Melinda is.
Yeah. Kind of amazing, right?
Yeah.
And for you, how much time did you spend with Brian?
I thought I spent as much time as I could without being sort of like the guy who wouldn't leave.
The creepy guy.
The intrusive weirdo in the house.
But, they were very gracious, and I got to spend time with him because the Beach Boys part of the movie where he's younger is so well documented, and there's so much stuff on that. But his retreat was, a mystery, and it was a rock and roll legend. It was like kind of the great sort of Hollywood rock and roll burnout legend. What happened to Brian Wilson? Where is the lost masterpiece of Smile? It was it's like there's a Van Gogh out there that no one's seen, which is the greatest painting in the world, and it inspired the Beatles. So there's so much lore about it, so that they're here and in front of us. And so I wanted to ask questions about like what happened with Dr. Landy, and how did you behave when you were around him, and you were around Melinda, and I just tried to ask, and I think it was painful for Brian, but he wanted to, he wanted the thing to be factual, and he wanted it to be accurate, and he wanted to show the good and the bad. So they weren't. I don't think any of us would have done the movie if they weren't down for this version of the movie.